G'day, this is Ruthie, and today I want to talk to you about the Age of Enlightenment. Now, the Age of Enlightenment happened in the 18th century, which is known as the 1700s. I don't understand why that works, how that works, but that is how it works, I believe. And in the Age of Enlightenment, we did get some tremendous inventions and we got some amazing political ideas, and this was the breakdown of most governments being monarchies, meaning that a single person had control of the government like a king or a queen, and they didn't necessarily have to listen to the parliament. And it gave us America. Up to that point, America was just I think it was 13 colonies belonging to Great Britain. And yeah, it was a really tremendous period in history. And we got a lot of incredible ideas. But we also got a really rotten idea out of the Age of Enlightenment. And this idea is known as deism. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope so. Anyway, deism is the concept that, because back then they were not prepared to say outright that there was no God. So they came up with deism instead. Now deism, and I imagine deism comes from the Latin deus, meaning God, is the concept that God is at leisure. That's what they say. Basically, the idea goes that God made the world and then he trotted off to leave it to run itself, and we can do whatever we want, really. As opposed to the idea that we believe from the Bible that God loves humans and God made the world so he could constantly interact with us and reveal to us his kindness and his love. The deists believed that that was a load of bunkum and God was off doing whatever God wanted to do, and we could do whatever we wanted to do. And with this came a scorn for belief in the supernatural, which has continued to this day. And of course now when people want to say there's no God, they just come right out and say it. They don't go along with all this business of, well, there is a God but he's not interested. They're going to say right out there's no God if they want to take that line of thought. And I want to talk to you about that because I think it really does affect everything in society, and I want to talk to you about how that affects your life as children or teenagers going to school. And you know, the reality is ideas in society bear fruit, and the result of the Age of Enlightenment has been an increasing emphasis on science and logic and maths in society, and less value being put on art and spiritual connection and interpersonal connection, meaning how we treat people. Now I want to clarify and say my father is a scientist and he's quite brilliant, and my brother is training to be an engineer and he's quite brilliant, and I am not making this video to sneer at science or logic or anything rational, because I think that's a wonderful aspect of life, and certainly God made it and God's very proud of it. But I want to talk to you about if you find yourself stuck going from 9 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon to school, and you feel like a stupid idiot because you don't fit in. And the reality is that the school system is set up to value those principles that the West, meaning Europe, New Zealand, Australia and Canada and America, developed in the Age of Enlightenment. And if you are not someone that just can get maths and science and grammar straight off, you're going to feel very, very, very sad in school, because school is an artificial environment where they value those subjects which are deemed as rational. Whereas if you happen to be really good at art and dealing with people and very spiritual, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer. Those subjects are considered a lot less important in our society, and that disdain starts in school. And it's really hard. It's really, really hard. And I'm one of those people. I'm not scientific. I'm not mathy. I'm not particularly rational. I'm an artist, and I'm very spiritual. And I'm spiritual to the point that some people don't even think it's sane, but I'm completely sane. And you might be like that too. And if you're like that, I want to tell you that even though you need to respect your teachers and you need to be grateful for your education, I want you to learn to put a shield around your heart, because your value is not determined by how clever your teachers think you are. And teachers can get it so wrong. A teacher told my sister that because she couldn't spell, because we all have dyslexia, it's really hard for us, because she couldn't spell, she would never amount to anything in life. Do you know what my sister did the year after that man told her that? She published a book. That's right, she published a book. So that was one in the eye for him. But these words hurt, and if you are picking up, it might not even be words, if you're picking up on an attitude that you're not as smart, that you're not as worthy, that you're not as wonderful, and you know, teachers like the kids that pick things up quickly, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're smarter. It just means they've got good memories, and they might not even be thinking about the information they're getting. If you're like me and you don't fit the system, I want to tell you that when you get older, it's going to be much, much easier for you in real life. And I really want you to understand that if you are special and unique, it may feel really bad to start with. It may feel really, really terrible. And I want to tell you about Joseph in the Bible. Now, Joseph was very spiritual. And when he was, I think it said 17, so he's young, right? But it could have started much earlier. I mean, with Samuel, it started very early. Joseph was told in a couple of dreams that he was going to become a mighty ruler. And he told his brothers, and they weren't impressed. And basically, through a course of events, they sold him as a slave. You know, bet you don't think you've got problems with your siblings now. They sold him as a slave, and he was working as a slave, and he had no control over the situation he was in. And then he got accused of committing a horrible crime he didn't commit, and he got sent into jail, and he had even less control over his life. But it says in the Bible that God was with him, and through miraculous events, he ended up becoming the Prime Minister of Egypt, and Egypt was the superpower of its time. So that's like you becoming a slave and then becoming the President of America, becoming the most powerful person in the world from slavery. It was amazing. It was a miracle. And when you're a kid and you're getting on that school bus, you don't have a lot of control over your life, just like Joseph didn't have any control over his life. What you can control is the belief you carry in your soul. And I don't ever want you to forget that God has put you on this earth for an extraordinary destiny. And the stranger you feel, the bigger your destiny is. The more you don't fit in now, the more you're going to stand out as a leader when you become an adult. And do what Joseph did. Just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, and believe one day all of this fakeness that you're subjected to, it's going to pass away, and you're going to find the destiny that God has for you. And then all those people that looked at you were like, oh, you're not very good at spelling or maths or science or whatever, they're going to be like, wow, look at that amazing leader. Look at that person with courage. Look at that person with grit. And you know where you're getting the grit? You're getting the grit now. You're getting the grit in school when you feel like a failure, because you're learning to rely on your inside. You're learning to listen to the voice of God telling you who you are and not the outside voices. And when you learn to stand alone, you actually learn to lead, because leading is lonely. But if you're not fitting in with the crowd, it probably means that you're going to be a great leader. So I want you to have courage. I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to listen to the voice of God, and remember that He does not make junk. And if you don't fit in, it's probably because you're destined to stand out and lead. Believe in yourself. Believe in what I'm telling you, because I know it to be the truth. Love you.